All right, this is the committee appropriations subcommittee on special projects. We'll call the meeting to order. We have, just for you that have not been through this process before, what we're doing is reviewing the presentation, and as you saw on the request form, there's 5 criteria that we'll be grading each project's validity on, and each member will be giving a grade of 1 to 5, and we'll tally those scores and be distributing state funds based on how those are evaluated. So, Jeff, if you would go ahead and start. No, to start there. Use that microphone there.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm asking today for some grant money for the Women's Resource Center of Bartow County. I hope you have attached to your page a little.
We're trying to pull that one up.
Okay.
Now. Here we go. It's on the bottom of the stack. All right, Jeff, go ahead.
I hope behind the application you have a little description of what they do. They are basically a counseling service and a needs providing service to women in Bartow County who are needy mothers or expectant mothers. They have parenting classes, financial classes. They do life coaching. They're registered with local DFACs and their health department. And our instructor is a CASA certified lady who can mentor or teach in these areas. They provide just a great deal of infant clothing and diapers and formula and car seats. And one thing that makes this request even a little more needy is a few weeks ago, I think maybe 3 weeks ago, their storage house burned down, and it burned up all of their supplies of diapers and clothing and baby seats and formula. And thankfully, through some very generous donations from some local retailers, we were able to get a few of those goods back in so they could have them on hand to deliver to needy families and single moms. But they've been in existence for maybe around 10 years, or at least I'm aware of 10 years, and they just provide a tremendous service, in my biased opinion, to the community and to young mothers, teenage mothers, and single moms, and they even help with placement when it comes to living arrangements and so forth. And they receive a lot of money through private donations. Matter of fact, I think that's most of their money right now. Unless you have any questions, you can ask, and I'll try to.
If you would, just turn your microphone on before you. If you turn them all on, there'll be feedback on the microphone, so we have to.
Representative Lewis.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea of the magnitude of the private donations during the period of the year?
It can range. I think the largest private donation I'm aware of came in several years ago. Was maybe $10,000 several years ago, and it can range anywhere. Somebody may give $20 to $100, and somebody might give $1,000 or a few $1,000s.
Do you know what their total budget is, say, for a year?
I think their total operating money they need is around $40,000 to $45,000.
Okay, thank you very much.
Other questions? All right, Representative Lewis, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your consideration.
And if you would, go ahead and mark your form, and we'll pass those around. Representative Porter.
Thank you. Is it graded on a 1 to 10 or 1 to 5?
1 to 5.
Okay, thank you. I've got 2 requests. The first one I'd like to talk about is the town of Dexter, Georgia. Dexter is a rural area in the western part of Lawrence County, but they've had a lot of growth challenges in the last couple of years. This is where the new high school for the entire county is going to be built in the vicinity of Dexter. And they have a festival that many of you may have been to called the Possum Hollow Arts and Crafts Festival. And the money raised from that for years has gone to build a community center to have activities. It's gotten in pretty bad repair, and the community continues to work hard to raise money to keep it up, but the one thing they do need is a fairly good add to the heating and air conditioning system. The voting is used for the voting precinct here. When you look at the demographics, it's probably one of the fastest growing areas. The community benefit would be tremendous. The economic development by having a quality place, especially near the high school and as fast as it's growing, would be tremendous. The ongoing operational costs will be taken care of by the local government. This will be a one-time cost. The local cost sharing is some of the other renovation will be paid from money generated from the Possum Hollow Festival, along with some of the money from the local spliced. And this is, like I said, is used for the voting precinct. It's really a center of community interest and pride, and would be a great addition and a big need for Dexter. So that's any questions about that. There's a letter from the mayor that's attached to it to talk about some of the other things that have happened there.
Questions?
I'd like to ask you the same question I just asked. Do you have any idea of the local matching funds? You mentioned SPLOST funds and other. You have any dollar figure on what these are?
They've probably generated close to $100,000.
Thank you.
It continues to, they've added on as the community's grown, they've added on to it, and what they need to do is update the heat and air to it to keep up with its growth.
Representative Sims?
Do you have facilities there, bathroom facilities there, or those kind of things?
It does.
It does?
Sure does.
And how about parking and that kind of thing?
That some of the SPLOST money is going to be used to add on to the parking lot.
Okay. I was just reading through.
Right.
Okay.
This particular grant is for the heating and cooling system.
Okay. Thanks.
To meet the expansion. The local money is going to the parking lot, the renovations, the repairs to the roof, and other things.
How many people vote there? Do you know?
About 1,200 is what registered voters. It's almost
That's
double its size in the last 15 years.
Okay. Thanks.
It's probably the largest county precinct we have.
One other question. You got 20,000 square feet, $20,000 for the HVAC systems. How big is the building itself?
I don't have the dimensions. I can get that for you.
Oh, just curious. I mean, I would expect air conditioning system that size to carry probably in the range of 10 to 1,000 square feet or so. Does that sound about right?
It's been renovated and expanded on a couple of times. You're probably talking about an area close to, I'll have to get, I hate to guess, but I've been there many times.
And I would expect it probably has a community room and things of that nature.
Right. And of course, you're talking about middle to South Georgia here in the summertime.
And my last question, how do they get those possums to holler?
Well, we'll invite you down and show you. Give you some possum stew that they make down there.
Thank you, Representative Porter.
Sure. The other one I've got is for Cedar Grove Volunteer Fire Department. This is to purchase a Jaws of Life for the rescue equipment. Cedar Grove, when you think of if you can picture Lawrence County, this is the southernmost portion of Lawrence County. It's down 441. It is probably a good 25 miles to Dublin to the hospital. It is probably another 25 miles to Eastman to their hospital. It's the crossroads of 46 that goes from Eastman to Soperton, and 441 that goes from Dublin to McRae. The local volunteer fire department, we have a real active program. They have done bake sales, a number of things to raise money. And they've raised half the money really from a variety of yard sales and bake sales and raffles and things like that. But this is an area that, with the traffic on 441 that is now connecting to the Golden Isles Parkway, is getting bigger and bigger. So it's not just your locals who are using this. The crossroads of 46 that cuts across Middle Georgia, in addition to 441 that goes down, this is where the cross section is. And you're having the severity of the types of wrecks. These people are trained on the Jaws of Life, but this is one of the areas in the county that this is a big priority. So as far as the community benefit to help this area grow, we need to have these kind of resources for accidents to happen in those kind of areas. The operation cost of this will be borne by our by the local group. They've raised a good bit of this money on their own, and you have what I consider one of the best volunteer fire departments in the state in this area. They're real aggressive about training and recruiting, so the activity and recruitment of the people who participate is probably one of the best you'll find anywhere. But they are constantly challenged on keeping up with the equipment. The jaws of life, as y'all know, that's when people are pinned in a car. This is the hydraulic piece of machinery that would open up so you could get people out quicker. The response time in our area, since this is in a really rural area, if we had it on location, rather than having to transport it from town down there to use it, it really would make the difference in lives in this part of the state. So that's the other request there.
Questions? Representative Ford, I've got a question related, and this is just information related to volunteer fire departments in general. Many years ago, I was involved in a volunteer fire department myself, and frankly, we were scary and dangerous back in those days. We'd get into stuff we shouldn't be involved in, and with no training, hardly any training. I'm wondering if there is what is the training requirements related to volunteer fire departments now?
I don't know where they are in other parts of the state. Ours have probably some of the best standards you'll meet anywhere. Our people are going through constant training and retraining on equipment, on response time, on putting on equipment, on number of how long it takes to get to different sites in the different areas. We have probably one of the most aggressive volunteer fire departments in the state.
Well, my hat's off to them. Yes, sir.
I'd like to add to that, I have 7 volunteer fire departments in Mitchell County, and they go to Forsyth, all of these training, and every one of them are certified firefighters. And they just lowered my insurance premiums $400 for the year.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And on that note, his chief comes down to our area. We've got a training facility there, and the implementation of his plan has been implemented in my county. I just know your chief, and he's been a real good guy, and come down and help us with our training also.
Don Bryant, who's our chief, is really known throughout South Georgia. Is really one of the best, and they use him for example of how to do something right. And this is one thing that would be a great benefit to this place that is really in the most rural part of our county. And if the main thing is a response time. We have jaws of life equipment in town and in Dudley, and but it's probably a good 20 miles from there to the Cedar Grove crossing.
Any other questions? Thanks, sir.
Thank you all very much for your consideration.
Representative Holt. He's on the bottom of the stack there. Oh, okay.
Last one, I have 2 additional direct signers.
Okay. Who did you have on there? Who was the additional, see if it helped you or hurt you?
Sir?
Who was the additional signers? Will it help you or hurt you?
Got 1 additional representative and 1 additional senator actually signing with me.
Douglas.
But then the original sheet that I turned in shows the others that are just in support.
Okay.
And I apologize for the confusion.
Not a problem. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I much appreciate the chance to make this request. This request is for $5,000 to help take the work of the Northeast Georgia RDC and some private individuals and take that blossom and bring it to bear full fruit. Hope that each of you have a brief that I've prepared on the Georgia Arts Development Council that gives some more detail on this. Now, while it may not sound like it, what this is really about is economic development. It's about taking folks who are involved in the arts, whether individually or in arts-related businesses, tying them into the governor's initiatives to encourage tourism in our state, give visitors more things to see and to spend money on here in Georgia, and at the same time also to help these arts-related folks improve their businesses, help them with marketing skills, tie them into the network, etc. And one thing that I'm really impressed by is that they started out just focusing on the Northeast Georgia RDC, but quickly realized that they could cast this entity to help out the whole state. And I think that would be a terrific benefit for $5,000. And at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but also would like to point out that I have Mr. Jim Dove, the director of the RDC, here to expand on it, as well as Mr. Bill Renee, who has one of the private individuals who's been involved, who has some very interesting statistics for you.
Gentlemen, you have any questions? I've got one in particular. Is for the $5,000, is there a specific hardscape or hardware improvement that this will be going to, or is it going into the general
This
budget?
is simply to provide for the legal fees and other fees necessary to set this council up as properly, what's the right word, constituted nonprofit entity.
Because as next year, when we ask you, was the money appropriated properly, if it's in place, it's good. Then if it didn't get in place, so that's the essence of what we're requesting funds for.
That's the intent, is to get them up and running. And as this brief states, their concept is that once they're up and running, they will bring in these artists and art-related businesses on a membership fee basis, so that will generate operating funds for the future.
And is this the only request you're making?
This is my only request, yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you,
I may
Doug.
introduce Mr. Dove briefly.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Representative. Just to further amplify upon your question, Mr. Chairman, the Northeast Georgia RDC would be the conduit for these funds, so it is fully audited each year, as are all the programs of the RDC, so we would have a good picture this time next year of how the monies were spent and the successes attributed to those.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And then finally, Mr. Bill Renee.
Can I yield to my wife because she's a little bit more articulate? That's wise.
Certainly.
That's wise.
I just wanted to tell you all about how many people are in art-centric businesses here in the state of Georgia. We have 79,831 recorded people who are in art-centric businesses, who are employed by the art-centric businesses. Now, the Americans for the Arts were the ones who gave us these statistics, and they are finding these people by Dun & Bradstreet numbers. As you well know, artists do not necessarily think about signing up for all of the things that other businesses may, so this is woefully underrated, we think. We think that there are many, many more than the 79,831 people that are in the businesses. We want to encourage them in this Arts Development Council to learn what they need to know to create a good, solid business sense, to be able to market their products both here in Georgia and throughout the United States. And we look forward to being able to work with people who are not necessarily catching the benefits of other organizations that are in place right now.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration.
Willie, you got one?
Brian?
Yeah, Brian. Sorry.
I should have two small ones there.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, what I have is two communities in two separate cities, City of Savannah and Garden City. And the City of Savannah, we have a small request for a sign to be placed in the entrance into the community.
Yes, sir.
The City of Savannah has named or has put up signs in communities throughout the city. They have a very attractive entrance way there, but they don't have a sign, and they tell us that they don't have the money. So consequently, the community came to me along with the recreation director from the city of Savannah, and they feel that $1,000 could put an appropriate sign there. So that's what that request is all about.
Any questions on this one before we move on to the other one? So this is just the other funds available would be, I guess, the other city budget related to the operations of the city. It's not an incorporated community.
No, this is a community in the city of Savannah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Bryant, thank you
Yes.
so much for your presentation. This actually does go, however, in your district.
Oh, yeah.
Physically goes in your district.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead with the other one now.
And the second request is in the city of Garden City, and that's where I live, in Garden City. The community has a community center with an adjacent playground, and the playground, excuse me, the playground equipment in that area was put in place probably 25 years ago, and it's almost non-existent other than a basketball area court. And this request is just to get some money to put some playground equipment on that site. The site is there, the area is lidded, and it's right adjacent to the community center. And I just think if we could put some equipment in that area, that will enhance the community. We don't have, in this particular area, not a playground area at all, other than that spot. And through the Recreation Department, who handles the community center, requested through me that we supply some money to buy some equipment.
On the third item of category on our ongoing operational cost, does the community have funds to maintain the area and the
Well,
equipment?
the city operates the center. They have a part-time person that opens the center up in the afternoon for school kids when they get out of school to help with mentoring and other things. But it's a Garden City operated center.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really applaud what you're trying to do here. But I haven't shot for playground equipment. Have they given you a list of what they hope $3,000 will buy?
No, I don't have a list.
I'd be interested if they, we obviously want to be able to see that you're doing something with swing sets or whatever the case may be. So if you can get that, I'd just be curious about it.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be a problem, but
Thank you.
Anything else?
I think maybe you're asking for $3,000 to supplement a purchase that they're going to make.
well, I spoke with the mayor last week, and he indicated to me that they will add whatever they had to add with that in order to get the equipment. $3,000 I just don't believe would be enough to get what they need, but they're willing to put whatever it is to help that out to get what they need.
I think, Mr. Chairman, the reports where it's spending is a portion.
I would recommend that in following on Representative Reiner's request, you do submit a breakout of what you're going to be getting with that $3,000 and submit that so that next year when we go back and track where the monies were spent, you'll be able to easily identify then that here's what you asked for, here's what you got.
Yeah, that shouldn't be no problem at all, Mr. Chairman. We can get that.
Okay. Thank you, Representative Bryan.
All right.
Anything else? Thank you. You got one, Chuck?
I got two.
Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Second.
You're not recognized for that motion right now.
Thank you to my friends on the committee. I appreciate it.
Sims.
Sims and Goggins.
Only thing I can read is 169.
That's
That's us. That's that.
It's the one
Goggins
that looks
can't sign
like
either. Goggins is a lawyer. I mean, is a doctor, so you know he can't sign. He has to put his initials so I know who he is.
He's actually the only one I can read.
Okay. I signed him in a hurry, Mr. Chairman.
I can sell that.
You ready?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. First one I'm going to bring is the City of Douglas grant. Basically, what we've done is we have our new Ashley Slater facility, and if you've been over to Douglas, I think Greg's been over. He's seen it. They have already added to the back side of that facility, and what they're wanting their money for is the entranceway, the signage, and the lighting. It's $17,000. They're going to put $5,000 more out of our SPLOST fund. The SPLOST did not include. This was a separate project, and the SPLOST did not include this part of it. We paid for everything else with the SPLOST. This $17,000 would really help us in the recruitment of business and our job growth. This facility alone housed 3 events last year, whereas we have 2 new companies now in Douglas. One with 350 jobs with AIW, our wire company. The other is Premium Waters with 174 jobs that is going to be created in the next 4 months. And so this is the one. It is an extremely good recruitment tool for our community. We do weddings there. We do huge events. We do our National Barbecue Festival is headquartered out of that building. It's a very attractive place, but it needs a little bit of improvement on the back side, and that's what they're asking the funds for in that one. Do I have any questions?
Questions? No questions? Well, good presentation.
Okay, sir. The second one is from Pearson, and this little community is in Atkinson County. For anybody that's been down 82, they'll know a little bit about it. What they have done over in Pearson is we now have a tri-county 911 center. The tri-county center is centered so far away from Pearson that without this kind of communications equipment, which are called repeaters, they can't talk to 911, and actually they're having to go through the sheriff's office in order to communicate with the 911 center on domestic calls and right there in Pearson. They're having a lot of trouble with their communications problems. This would definitely help in that regard with the with pinpointing officers to be dispatched to the right place. Chief Fletcher has been pretty adamant about this. He has been in a very big tight with it and trying to get his communication problems fixed. The 911 center is doing a wonderful job. It's just that they're having to go through a sheriff's office to get their calls, and their response times are. And this would also go with the city of Pearson has a volunteer fire department that runs through the police department, and this would also help the fire department in responding to fires also. They were going to use this for video equipment on 2 cars. They have 4 cars in Pearson. It's not a real big place, but they wanted to get some video equipment to. They do a lot of stops. In fact, 82 is pretty much a thoroughfare for methamphetamine and marijuana trafficking in that side of the area. And this is these guys are trying to make good cases over there, and this would add to their means of trying to stop some of that. And last is they just need to upgrade some hardware problems with their computer system. That's not the most large expense in there. The repeaters are going to be the most, I guess, most expensive items that we're talking about. Any questions?
Mr. Sims, is there going to be any local match of funds?
They're going
and
to.
If so, by how much?
They've got a SPLOST going now. They have added. They've asked for. They got to. Of course, they passed the SPLOST and didn't do this. But there's going to be some added funds at the end with some interest, and they're going to add the interest back into those into this project. This project's probably going to run about $50,000.
So there'd be a $20,000 loan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
none of this money is allocated for any salaries or anything like that.
No, sir. Salaries and no maintenance, no salary. This would be all new equipment purchase. Mr. Green, I'll be honest with you, these guys are in a tight with trying to get to the response time. And I've talked with the sheriff, and they're working together, but it's very, very hard for them to talk to the repeater is over in Lakeland. I mean, the system there with over in Jay Shaw's district is where the 911 center is. They've got Clinch, Lakeland, and Atkinson can't, not Clinch. What's the county? Liberty, not Liberty. Long, no. I can't even think of the county of it. It's not my county. No, it's not Fannin. It's the one over there with Jay Shaw. I can't think. Lanier. I knew it was an L. I just couldn't say Lanier. I know it's Lakeland, but Lanier, Clinch, and Atkinson went together with their SPLOST with their 911, and that's what they've done with it. But they just can't talk to them.
Representative Sims, what I would ask you to do is, since we're talking about fairly specific items,
yes, sir.
If you get the chief to
specifically name
them and give specific amounts, so that next year we can have a check.
I understand that, and I heard what you told Mr. Bryant. I'll get that done for you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you much.
I've got one right here coming to you. What we got left? Mine and Gerald's, Tommy Benton's, and Ron's. Joe, you want to go ahead and do yours? I'll flip with you. I don't care. We're going to do them both.
Yeah. You want to do it like we said we've done both?
Would you like to expand on that?
No, we were just going to say, here they are.
I second that.
You got a bigger pack here.
As long as all the same courtesies go to everybody.
That's right. That's right.
You want me to do it quickly, Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, the first one is for Miller County. And the Miller County Commission got into a situation with the Department of Natural Resources. They were told to clean up Spring Creek. They did what they thought they were supposed to do. And now they have been fined heavily, and they have been told they have to go back in and do some sediment control. And this $6,000 is to help them with that.
So we're putting money out for the good guys and the bad guys, and I'm not sure which one is either case on this one.
And we could never find out which one was the good guy and the bad guy either, because Miller County thought they were doing what they were told they had to do on Spring Creek, which Richard is familiar with down there. But
every environmentalist in the state.
Yep. And so the county would come back in with in-kind and do their part with the road department there. They just do not have enough money between the fines and this to do what they're asking them to do.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go on to the next one.
Okay. The next one is the Early County Commission. This is the recipient of this would be the Early County Health Department. Our hospital is no longer in the birthing of babies anymore, but we have a great need for the Early County Health Department providing some type of leadership to help parents with parenting, especially with baby seats. And so we have gone into a program to try to decrease the infant death rate on with programs to work with the county, the EMS, the city of Blakely to try to do the car seats and do this as a community service there. Go ahead.
Any questions?
The next one is the City of Cuthbert setting up a web page. You can see from the letter from the that they are planning on setting up a web page of $4,500. They're asking for $3,500. The city has the other funds that they can put with it. This would help them set up a website, web page for the City of Cuthbert, trying to develop economic development in the area there. The next one is Clay County, and it's a $15,000. We have mandated security at the courthouse there. The sheriff has given how much it would cost for the court room, and $10,693. The others would place the other needed funds is for the entranceways into the courthouse, not to the courtroom, but into the courthouse. And the county, and I failed to put that on there, the county will come up with other funds to assist there. They have allocated in their budget another $15,000. The next one is the museum project for the city of Blakely. It's $6,000. They've been given 2 buildings, old buildings. They've renovated them. They need now to put in display cases. People have donated a great deal of memorabilia for the project. They just need something to help display it. $6,000 there. Do I have another one?
Is there 2?
Yeah, I think we did double on that.
Museum?
No, it's just, yes.
I've got 2 of them.
Yeah, and I do too. And Rebecca, bless her heart, she did what I goofed on probably. And the last one, I think, the last one is the $12,000 one for the city of, for the Randolph County Commission, and it's the digital pagers and communications equipment. You can see from the letter that has been provided, the county commissioners are requesting assistance there, and it's we're one of those counties that we do not have the 911 yet. We're working toward this, and this will help us greatly with our volunteer firefighters and certified emergency groups.
And the total request, how do they total up?
No idea.
No idea?
No, I didn't. I really didn't.
We'll total it up.
Gotcha.
All right, we'll go on to mine real quick. It's
Heard that.
requesting $60,000. What happened in the city of Lawrenceville is we got an established community in there that a shopping center was built across the road, and there's a lot of activity going on in the shopping center that's causing problems to the community. That street that goes into that community that's across from the shopping center is also a cut through to another state highway, and the city council was requested to put in a cul-de-sac to close it off, and then when the cul-de-sac goes in, would establish an area for a little pocket park. So that's what that money will be going for. It's a total $250,000 project, of which I think it's a pretty good project.
Sounds good.
That's the only request I got right now. Let's hope they are.
They have those. I'm trying to get it total. I don't believe I can
I was
either.
with Chairman O'Neill just a few minutes ago, and he was asking about the possibility of getting on our schedule
We've got a backlog. We've got about 60 projects that have been submitted right now that we need to get to moving through. So we're probably going to meet. Is it Wednesday? Thursday. Thursday.
We did Thursday.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
You would do that?
I'll mention it to Rebecca. Eiley, if you'll help me remember to mention that to Rebecca on her scheduling. Getting Representative O'Neill on the list for next Thursday. So far,
Well, maybe he did.
I handed him mine. Somebody didn't hand. Want me to fill it out for you?
Didn't we do his?
Man,
I thought we did his.
Gerald just got it all.
Representative Bitton, you had to go back to the microphone there. I'm sorry.
Nice try.
You're on TV.
You're out of breath, too.
I am. I've been running steps. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
How are you doing?
We'll be doing good in just a minute.
If you want to catch your breath, we'll let you. Do you need a form?
Yes, I do.
Riley, have you got another one that's even?
Oh, 3.
I did. I turned it in before we presented it.
I think I did. Did we turn in?
The chairman's
Chairman.
form.
Oh, yeah.
Did you turn in one?
That was a 50. I handed it
You won't give me 3 or 4
You
more.
handed?
I'll fill them out.
Yeah.
to you were right.
Oh, I was adding. Ed was trying to tell me ahead of time. It was 47.5.
Well,
I was guessing. You didn't really have it.
How much, Gerald?
Did you really?
I was just guessing. I was doing it right under the prediction.
Oh, I thought you.
here you go. Just use mine, Tommy.
I was doing a prediction.
Take that back.
Okay, Mr. Chairman,
What the-
thank you very much for allowing me to come before the committee and present these items. The first one is the City of Commerce for the Commerce Fire Department. The money that we're requesting, $11,000, is to help with the purchase of a ISG thermal imaging camera. These are being used now to help find victims in fires or people that are trapped, that they can go in there with this camera and image and find these people where there's a lot of smoke and they can't see. It also will allow them to find hot spots that are left to keep the fire from breaking out again. And so they're asking for help on that. The volunteer fire department there does one big money-raising project a year, and of course they're funded also by the city, but they would like some help on getting this thermal imaging camera. Anybody have any questions about that one?
Go ahead, Richard.
Can you tell me about how many dollars that are going into this project from other sources, from the city, the volunteer fire department?
They are looking at, as far as money going in from other sources, they're looking at about $4,000
Okay.
And the request here is for how much?
for 11. They feel like that this is something that needs to be purchased without having to wait on them to raise the funds, which would probably take them another 2.5 years to raise those funds by the fire department itself. All right. Any other questions on that one?
Go ahead. If you would, slide my sheets back up.
I'm sorry.
So I could... Thank you.
The second is for the South Jackson Volunteer Fire Department. We were able to help this fire department last year, helping them get a breathable air compressor for their fire department. They currently serve the southern end of Jackson County, what we refer to in the county as the Redstone area. And they have two fire houses down there. They are all volunteer. But what they need is some help with the purchase of some personal protection gear, or what we refer to as turnout gear. They have $5,000 to put with this grant in order to buy this turnout gear.
Questions?
The third one is for the town of Brazelton. Brazelton sits in the corner of Jackson County and encompasses now not only Jackson County, but is over into Hall, Gwinnett, and Barrow County. And what they are seeking funds for is to help rehabilitate an old school building that was once part of the Brazelton, the family school. And they are wanting to take the last building, refurbish it, and make it into a history and heritage museum. I think this would probably be an ongoing project. I do not know at this time what Brazelton has to put with it, but I would say they probably have in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $15,000 to go with this.
Yes, sir.
I see that you have two senators with them. Are they going to ask for any funding on their side?
I'm not aware of them asking for any funding on that side. All of these were presented to me. They were not. They did not tell me we're trying to do both sides. Commerce sits in mine and Senator Hudgens, but they approached me about this. Also, the South Jackson area, they have not approached Senator Hudgens about this money for the turnout gear.
What's Richard's question on the other funds coming into it?
Other questions.
I'm sorry.
You're asking for $75,000. What's funds are?
I would say in the neighborhood of $15,000 is what they would have to put with that right now. And it does. You know, 75 was looking at probably the whole project, but I'm sure it's going to be several years to get this done. Yes, sir.
So this project has a lot of ongoing cost to it.
Well, I don't know that it has a lot of ongoing cost. I went by and looked at the building. It's in fairly good shape to be as old as it is. It's about 100 years old. Yes, sir.
Questions, Richard?
On these three, did the senators sign these, or did you just?
I just put their names so that you would know.
Are they going to sign?
No, well, if you need me to have them sign it, I thought that if they were part of the, in other words, they were going to be requesting over on their side that they would sign. That was the way I understood it.
The purpose of the request of their signature is to make sure that they are aware that you're requesting the funds so that they don't double.
They are aware. I'll be glad to get their signature.
Make sure they're aware.
Mm-hmm.
This one does concern me in a little bit in that the state vesting is considerably more than the other party vesting, and the local cost sharing is minimal.
I will be glad to get with the mayor of Brazelton. In fact, I could probably call her on the phone right now and get a firm figure on that.
That would be helpful, and
okay.
And a definition is specifically broken down into various quantities as money were to come to them, where would those specifically where those monies would be expended.
Okay, would you like for me to get that right now?
No.
Or come back?
You can just give it to me. Yeah.
Okay, all right, I can do that.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We got them mixed together there.
Chairman, that was part of Terry's as well. I just understood that to be his, but not, he's got Terry.
No, Terry England has got his own request. Terry's definitely not.
I kind of figured, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't interpreting that wrong.
So the rest is Representative Stevens, and we'll hold that till the next meeting.
Well, I think Chairman Kirk is scared of mine.
I think that's possible.
Well, no, but he tells them that back.
When they asked me too, I mean, I said, you know, don't come in here with any outlandish.
I thought once it's one for $325,000.
You saved him effort. With that, we'll call the meeting concluded. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.